to the Gust Gin live, living my 360-degree life podcast. Today we have an amazing guest. I'm so excited. It's my soror, Tracy Davis, and she is running for judge. So we're going to I can't wait to talk to her about just everything, you guys. Everything chai we're going to talk about today. You better believe it. And so, but before we do all that, of course, we have to do our housekeeping. And you know what that is. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Gust Gin Live, Living My 360-Degree Life YouTube channel and Facebook group. Don't forget the YouTube channel, which you're watching me on, is bit.ly/just with a capital G-U-S-T, Gin, capital G-I-N, live, capital L-I-V-E, and it'll get you right to the YouTube channel. And you can follow me on my Facebook page, which is Gust Gin Live, which is my podcast. If you want to know what I'm doing, keeping up with my books and my book launches and what I'm writing next, it's Just Gin. Okay, so Facebook is Just Gin or Just Gin Live, and Instagram Just Gin Live, Twitter is Just Gin Live. I'm just live all the way, y'all. Okay, and now, without further ado, I do want to welcome Tracy, but before I do that, I want to read a little bit of information about her. Okay, Tracy Evette Davis. She's a native Louisvillian. She's a mother of 3 adult children, even though she does not look like it. And her adult children are Austin, DJ, and Camryn. She has 2 beautiful grandchildren who are the apple of her eye. She's a graduate of DuPont Manual, same as my baby, Lily, the University of Kentucky, Gatton College of Business, and NKU Salmon P Chase College of Law. After graduating Chase College of Law, Tracy opened her own private practice in downtown Louisville and has practiced for the last 8 years throughout the entire state of Kentucky in district, circuit, and family court. Her practice includes a wide variety of cases, including family law matters, cases involving misdemeanor and felony criminal charges, and civil cases. Tracy has done countless hours of volunteer and pro bono work at that, advising and representing some of Louisville's most vulnerable citizens. They might have been students of mine. That's why I almost said students instead of citizens. Okay, Tracy's done countless hours, and Tracy believes in justice. She has given of herself both personal and professionally in the pursuit of equity, both in and out of the courtroom. From her volunteer work as a board member for the YMCA of Louisville. Hey, I love the Y. Shout out to the Y. She's also volunteered with the American Cancer Society and Louisville Opera to helping paint high school locker rooms, making food baskets, and feeding the homeless through nonprofit organizations and our sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. Ooh. And she believes in equal opportunity and giving back to help the less fortunate and those who may not always have a voice in decisions that impact their daily lives. Having worked in the justice system and litigating in every district in district court and family courts in Jefferson County her entire legal career, she has brought a level of compassion and commitment to her cases that ensures that each person she represented is represented fairly. You can depend on her to bring that level of dedication, compassion, and professionalism to the circuit court bench. I am so excited that Tracy has found some time to be with us today. And I am so excited for you guys to meet her if you don't know her. And I'm going to bring her in right now. And here she is, Tracy. Hey, Tracy. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. I was just reading your bio and talking to all of my fans about you. Just so glad to have you today. You
Well,
look
thank
beautiful
you.
as per usual.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's the morning sun that's coming in. So
Oh, girl, isn't it awesome? So, like I was telling during my show, we always start with chai, which we so you can tell us what you're going to do, what part of chai you're going to do. And you guys let me refresh everyone what chai means. So the C is for community family, H is health and fitness over 50, health and wellness over 50. A is author life entrepreneurship. And I is identity, whether it's in Christ or your spirituality. And so today, I have a feeling we're going to focus more on community.
just a tad, yeah.
Would you agree with that, Tracy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I understand that you're running for judge, which
I
I
am.
am excited about. Can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to run?
Well, I've been practicing law for quite some time. Started law school back in 2007, graduated 2012, actually worked full time and had 3 children. I was a single mom and I commuted to Salmon P Chase, which is at Northern Kentucky University. It's about 97 miles from here. It's in Highland Heights. Don't say Covington. They get upset. It's not Covington, it's Highland Heights.
Okay.
And it was a night program. Um, I went to obviously UK for undergrad, majored in finance, but I always knew that I wanted to go to law school. Um, I always, from a young age, would advocate for others. I would listen to people and I would hear them say things that sometimes I felt like wasn't being communicated, right? Because communication is everything. Communication is always about who your audience is, who your listener is, right? And so you
Mhm.
have to communicate from that standpoint. And oftentimes people are not equipped with that knowledge or with that ability.
Right.
And so I would go through school and things and being a minority, you would see disadvantaged, you would see disenfranchised persons that deserved everything that anybody else was getting, but oftentimes they weren't heard. And so, I wanted to be an attorney to advocate for those. And so that's exactly what I did. I commuted, I went to school at night. I didn't take out any loans. I used, my company had tuition reimbursement. And then, I would use my tax refunds and my savings and everything else to try to pay it forward. And I was able to graduate from law school without taking out a dollar of a loan. And as far as being a judge goes, you learn quickly that everyone, no offense, is an accumulation of their life's experiences, right? So we all come to the table with biases. We all come to the table where, you know, a certain event can happen and we'll see it one way, you'll see it another way. Both of us will be correct, but then what is the
Mhm.
totality of what happened? And so
Mhm.
oftentimes I will be in court and I will be frustrated because as I'm talking and saying things, I know I'm communicating effectively. I know I'm making the same arguments. Um, but oftentimes there wasn't an ear to really hear what the situation was. There wasn't someone on that bench that was culturally diverse. There wasn't someone on that bench that was spiritually diverse. There wasn't someone on that bench who could put themselves in other people's shoes or who actually had relationships with the community and it knew the community, all of the community, not just one part. And so I decided that I wanted to be, a judge so that I could give everyone across the board an ear that was willing to hear actually what they were saying. And so that is what is so important to me, is access to justice,
Yeah.
right? Because that is what we want. We all want to feel safe. We all want, to be able to work. We all want the ability to prosper, and to be left alone.
Mhm.
The question is some people want big government, some people want small government. Our people need government, right?
Mhm.
Because there's always laws and things that are made that will directly impact and affect us, right? And when I say our people, I'm talking minorities, women,
Mhm.
impoverished, those that have historically been, left out, left aside, and not thought about, the fray of us all. But obviously, when I'm elected on November the 8th, I will be everyone's judge, right? And so Obama said, even the ones who don't vote for me, I will be your president too. And so that's the thing, is, to treat everybody equally and to treat everybody fair.
I love that.
Thank
Um, I taught for 27 years, and I
you.
was like the judge in my own little classroom.
Right?
And it is, you're so right about perspectives, because you could take you know, the same classroom, the same scenario, and I can see it one way based on my experiences, my upbringing, my friends, my my religious beliefs, my everything. And you
Right,
can see it the other person can see it totally different. And you're like, how'd you see that? But
right,
it's their perspective, that is what they feel or what they think from what their experiences taught them. So it's very important that we have an impartial judge that's willing to listen. You might not necessarily agree with what they're saying, and it could be even off, but they deserve to be listened to.
right, right. You can respect the reasons behind it, right? I think that why always
Mhm.
matters. And so oftentimes we can agree and come to the same conclusion for totally different reasons, right?
Right.
And so I think that it's about acceptance of people, acceptance of our differences. And, as long as someone's lifestyle, what they do, how they practice their religion, or spirituality, whatever it is, how they work, how they raise their children, as long as it doesn't have a direct impact on you,
Mhm.
right? You just continue to accept and to live and realize that we can't live through a lens of ethnocentrism. Everything does not have to be compared to our beliefs, to our lifestyle, to our culture, right? It's a whole world out there, right? God made the
Mhm.
world, right? And made
Exactly.
all of us in totality so that we could all function, so that we could all live and make it. And so it takes all kinds. So
Right.
that's the biggest thing. It's about acceptance. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Can't wait for November to vote for you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
It's the truth. Okay. So if you wrote a book about your career so far,
Yep. Let me see, make sure my camera's
um,
closed.
oh, you're fine. How would you entitle it and why?
Oh gosh. I think that I would title it Perseverance.
Mm,
Um, and I know it sounds cliche because Justice Ketanji Brown just got through saying that word, and I'm very particular about saying Justice Ketanji Brown, because oftentimes minorities get labeled by their first name, right? We say Barack, we say Oprah, we say Ketanji, and that's because of our culture. It's okay. It's that sister, it's that brother, it's whatever. But in different places, it can be disrespectful, right? Like in
mhm,
corporate, don't call me Tracy,
mhm.
you call me Miss Davis, right?
Right.
It's a respect
Or
thing.
Judge
Or
Davis.
Judge Davis, absolutely. Now, when
Or
we're
yeah,
outside, we're fine, right? When I'm on the bench, but
yes.
I think it's about respect and microaggressionism, right? So I will say Justice Ketanji or whatnot, but I think that perseverance is where we overcome so many obstacles, and oftentimes it's not about being raised in a certain situation, or being impoverished, or living in a bad neighborhood or whatnot. It's about, from birth, what is it that I'm up against,
Mhm,
right? Oftentimes I find people that will tell me that they're not going to vote. And usually it's those that the votes don't really impact or affect. And so the thing is, and I have this conversation and I say, the reason why you're not compelled to vote is because you are privileged and a part of the majority. And with that being said, what that means is that there's really never been a law made that negatively impacts you, that changes your life, that takes control of your life because you get to make the rules. And so you have this sense of safety and well-being that was not afforded, to me. And so it's like with the Constitution, if you really look up con law, the basis of having a claim for your constitutional rights, it's basically how much like the enslaved Negro were you? And that's the analysis for strict scrutiny, right? If you notice, the first case that came out after that, I believe it was a woman, and she was trying to get into law school, and they would not allow her to go. And they told her, well, you don't get to file a claim that is against your constitution because, you're not Black. And yeah. And so it was like, what do you mean I don't have the right to do that? And what the analysis was here is a people who was historically discriminated against. Here is a people who can't change being Black. Here is a people who, can't change the prejudice that they see. Here is a people who, and so the list goes through, right? And so that's where you get in the Constitution, you have your strict scrutiny, which means you can't make a law about it, whether it hurts people, helps people, or whatever. Like you can't make a law about race, right? Affirmative action is not a law. Affirmative action is a remedy, right? It rights a wrong. So if you work for a company that has an affirmative action rule, please know that historically your company discriminated. Okay. And then you have the intermediate scrutiny. And so that's where like women come in, that's where your disabled come in, that's where your impoverished come in and things of that nature. And where that comes from is you can't change being a woman, right? Well, you used to couldn't change that. Let's make that very clear because now we have cisgenders, we have transgenders, and so I'm speaking from a historical perspective, right? That couldn't be changed. Women couldn't work. There were laws and rules that were made that actually hindered women. And so in order to make things fair or equitable, which means everybody gets here because our lives are here, 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 where we start. So there's laws that are made that gets us here. That's equity, right? That's not equal. Because if you do equal, then whoever was here and here, if we give them the same, they continue to be unequal. So that's why we call it equity. And so that's where they were able to make rules and make laws for women, like the different bathrooms and the rule, like if you wanted to be in the army, be in the police, a woman only has to pick up 30 pounds where a man can pick up 99. Why? Because if you make that the same, a woman physically is incapable of doing that, right? And so there's laws that are there to help and to promote. And then there's, the other one is rational basis, which I know I'm giving you all a law school lesson, but that's where the rule looks as if it's neutral, right? But if you apply the rule across the board, you notice that there is a disparaging impact. Okay, so that's where you come in and we start talking about hiring rules and tests that are given and things of that nature, where it looks like if you apply it across the board it's the same rule. So it has to be fair. Well, actually it's not, right? Because these people will never be able to do this. These people will never be able to do that. And so that's kind of where that comes from. And that's what gets you to be able to be allowed to, to come before the court or whatnot. But anyhow, so that in its totality, when it comes to the Constitution and things like that, that's my life, right? That is single parent. My family, I'm first generation college graduate from my dad's side. I'm almost first generation high school graduate, right? Definitely the first person in my family to have a secondary degree and a doctorate level degree. My mom's family is a little more diverse. I've got aunts and uncles that have, 2 and 3 degrees and they're in sororities and fraternities, but my mom was the baby of 11. So she stayed home with my grandmother and my grandfather died when she was 2. And so, yeah. And so she didn't go to college or whatnot, but she's a hard worker. She's worked my whole life. She's always been informative or whatnot, but it's those things. It's microaggressionisms that we've had to overcome. It's having to temper down when you having a voice, right? We teach children, we teach people to have a voice and to occupy space. But when I have a voice and I advocate for myself, I am labeled as being aggressive. I am labeled as being difficult. I am labeled as being cantankerous, right?
Mhm.
Whereas a lot of my counterparts, that's not what you go through. And so those things, if a woman is shapely, then she's labeled as promiscuous. And it's like, it doesn't matter. I can have on a burlap sack. And if you have curves, you're going to have curves, right? But in
Right.
corporate, right, that's looked at in a particular way. And so if you wear makeup, if you're too pretty, if you're not, I mean, there's all these things that you go through in life, stereotypes, right?
Mhm.
That we
Mhm.
have to overcome. So being a minority female in the field of finance, which is unheard of, I was the fourth African American female to graduate from the College of Business and Economics with a finance degree, and that was in
Wow.
2002. You know, and
That
so
says a lot, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, it's mind blowing, right?
Mhm.
And so, like I said, that would be it. So to think that I started the way I started, I had my first child, my first day of school, my senior year at Manual. I was 21 with 3 children and married. Separated and got a divorce young. So all odds were stacked again. I should not be here. I should not be,
Look at
with this,
God. Look at
right?
Tracy, we're not
Absolutely.
gonna get through these questions, girl. We have to move on. I'm gonna have to do some cutting. But everything you said is so awesome, it's gonna be hard. Okay. So what's the very first job you had that's not on your resume? And what did you learn from the experience? And do you think your first job experiences will assist you in any way as your future job as a judge?
My first job, I was 15 years old, and I worked at Rallies. And it was a restaurant job. I will never do a restaurant job again. That is not my calling. But I wanted to be able to make money. I wanted to be able to make my own decisions. I wanted to be empowered. And so
Mhm,
what I learned then, I remember I made like $5.15 an hour, maybe 5.35.
mhm,
I worked a lot of hours. I would get up in the mornings early. I would go in because in the summer, when you're 15, you didn't have the requirements of only working 15 hours a week. But I met people from all walks of life. I met a lot of adults who were still having those jobs, making that little bit of money. And what I learned was that we're all just doing the same thing. We all just want to be able to take care of ourselves and to be able to provide. So I learned how to show up. I learned work ethic. I learned that very early on that if you're the boss, you do the job of everyone, even the least of these. There should be nothing in your area that you're not willing to do that you would have someone else do. So I learned a lot of respect. And I learned, more about people being people more so than their titles.
right, lovely. I love that.
Yep.
And I think that when you are the boss or you're at the head or you're at the top, you should know how to do all the jobs and you should be willing to do them because sometimes people can't or won't show up. And if you think you're too good, then how's the work gonna
Right.
go
Right.
forward,
And
you know? So how do you balance your life and your work?
oh, you don't. You no. I think that, and I keep looking to the side, therapy, right? I think everyone needs a therapist. Everyone needs to be able to check in at some point in time. Everyone needs to feel every emotion and realize that their emotions are valid,
Mhm,
right? So when you're being frustrated, it's this is what I feel. Where is this coming from? Is
right,
it me? Is it, have I been wronged? Is it work? Is it vicarious trauma? Always being present and in touch with that,
mhm,
and realizing your limitations. So I set boundaries, but again, I'm learning, right? Because I work till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning if necessary. I will pick up a phone if a client is calling and it's an emergency.
mhm.
But it really takes having a strong support system. You said community. I'm involved in many things in the community. I'm on many boards. I'm in a sorority. I'm a Delta. Um, yes.
I
And so,
told everyone that you were my soror
right,
earlier when I was reading it.
right. So, I mean, but having that and having that sisterhood and a group of very strong women who have beliefs the same as yours, who actually advocate and go out into the world to ennoble, that gives you that time, right, to
Right.
separate or whatnot. But what I will say briefly is that the more you elevate and evolve, the more they overlap. And so your career, if you have a career versus a job, will always bleed over, right? And so community is what I do. I'm just lucky enough that with my career and what I do, I'm able to do those things in my personal life. But setting boundaries is definitely a must.
Very, yes, I would strongly agree with that. Okay, who has been your most important professional mentor?
Oh gosh, that is a rough one. I would say probably, and this is going to sound different, but I had a professor, and it was Professor Kazee. He taught us basic legal skills, and he taught me crim law. He taught me, we did Lincoln's Law and a couple of other things, but he saw in me something that no one else did. And this was a older white man who went to school in DC to law school, who had a mom that was, a very extreme white wing Republican, who lived in Northern Kentucky. But what he told me was the first week of school, he said, justice, justice, thou shalt pursue. And that's in the Bible.
Mhm.
And he told me that, the Bible is the law, and that to get through law school and to learn that, you read the books the way you would the Bible, right? Or any spiritual guide, right? You don't have to read the Bible. It could be your Quran. It can be, whatever
Mhm.
books or whatever ritual books that you read or say and speak. And
Mhm.
so he instructed me and told me, you know the way you learn. Don't try to adhere to someone else. So again, Bible, be ye not conformed of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And
Yes.
so once you know yourself in your personal life, right, and that is spiritual, if you want it to be, all right, because in religion we call them spirits, in science we call it energy, in the streets they call it vibes. It's all the same thing, right? It's all the same thing. We all, I mean, it's all your belief or whatnot. And so with that being said, knowing self, standing true to who I am, not feeling odd with being the odd man out, knowing that if I thought about things a little differently than everybody else, it was okay, because it's those people in the world that are the game changers. They change the rules, they change the law, they make things fair. They bring about evolution, and they're out there, doing what needs to be done. And so he instilled that in me. He instilled it in me to be an advocate. I wanted to be a prosecutor.
Mhm.
He was like, "No way." He said, "You will lock everybody up. You'll try to give everybody 100 years," And we laughed about that, but he said that he wanted me to see it from the other side, and that he wanted me to learn it in its totality, because he said that more than anything, people that are innocent,
Mhm.
they are the ones that need the voice the most. And then those that have done wrong, right? Um,
Mhm.
they need someone to be out there so that the punishment is fair. If they can be reformed, it happens. And you know the difference between when grace is necessary and when justice has to be ensued. And so so that meant a lot to me, right? That meant so much to me on this. I've had many, many mentors, but on this career path, on what I was doing, he saw then where I would be today. And
Isn't
I
that
appreciate him
amazing?
for
That
that.
just gives me chills. That's amazing. I mean, you just never know what a kind word will do.
Absolutely.
What is in the Bible? It says the power of life and death lie in the tongue.
Yes. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
You could either build up or tear down with what you say, and kudos to you for being open-minded and listening. And because sometimes when you're going to college, graduate school, all of that, some of those professors are just out there, and it's like,
They are.
okay,
They are. They are. They are.
and you're just like,
They are.
all righty then.
Mhm.
Okay. How would you explain no, well, okay, this is kind of fun one. How would
Okay.
you explain the court system to a child or to a Martian? Malia wants to be an astronaut, so the
Right.
throw in.
Oh, it's fine, because what you learn very quickly, when you are a trial attorney is that your average juror has an 8th grade education. So you go and you learn all these big complex things, and I talk with my hands, big complex things, right? This is what a heart attack is. This is what this happens with this. And then you have to find a way to, again, communicate that to your jury in a way that they understand, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so what I would say is that the court system is a very complex system. But the court system is there to make sure that everybody is treated fair and that everybody is treated right. So if something happens to you, you can go to the court system, and the court system will do everything that it can to make sure that, one, it never happens again, and two, that it gets the bad people and keeps you safe, right?
I understand.
Uh, yep.
Okay. Oh, well, I understand that you enjoy volunteering. And what has volunteering taught you?
Um, I think that volunteering has taught me that you give, right? Um, we're privileged people, right? All of us, everybody. Um, you have something that's great. There's a movie that's called Lackawanna Blues. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. was in that, and he lived in this
Mhm.
this house, where there were plenty of different, people that were there, alcoholics, and I think there was one woman that was a loose woman, and all those things, and the veteran that had PTSD. But each and every one of those people impacted his life, and they gave him the best of them, right? So it wasn't about their struggles. It wasn't about certain things, but it was about really putting in to others the best of you.
Mhm.
And I think that in volunteering, I've learned that you as a volunteer, when you give back, it's not about the person you're giving to, it's more about you, right?
Mhm.
It's what you get from that. It's planting seeds and seeing those seeds grow. It's being the first port of contact for someone who's never seen a professional, who's never had an organic piece of fruit because everything that they've had has been secondhand or whatever, or never had a new dress or a new suit. And we are all deserving of the best of everything, right? We all are deserving of the best that this world has to give. And I think that in volunteering, um, and giving your extra, because that's what it is. It's extra.
Mhm.
Um, you learn that you have more than enough and it comes back to you, three,
Yeah.
fourfold, and you pay it forward and you tell people, I don't want anything in return. Do for me what I've done for you. And I've had people who have done that for me. And
Mhm.
it's meant the world because I didn't have to give back anyway. Right. But when I did, I made sure that I reached out to that person. I made sure that I gave that ride or that I donated that money or that time. Right.
Right.
Especially when you're young. You don't have money when you're young. So you give time.
Yeah.
Right. But you can always give back. So that's what I've learned. And it makes the world a better place.
Well, speaking of volunteering, I have an opportunity for you, Tracy.
Okay.
Okay, so Gay Elliman, she's running for school board,
Yes.
and she's spearheading a book drive and a school supply drive
Yep.
for the people in Eastern Kentucky.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, so I'm working with her on her team to try to get her elected. And so Highland Cleaners is partnering with Gay, and there are some
Okay.
other people involved. I think they might be running for some things too that have agreed to help. But what we're thinking is that we could have a candidate take each location. There's like,
Okay.
I think there's like 9 or 10 locations,
Okay.
and just to go to Highlands Cleaners near you, like once a week, check to make sure that they have everything they need. Like if some of the books need to be taken out of the bins, if they're filled up already, or just kind of checking in with them once a week.
Okay. And
So
this is Highland Cleaners?
yes,
Okay.
Highland
Okay.
Cleaners.
Okay.
We did a coat drive. I did a coat drive with her last year. It was a coat drive and a book drive. This year is a book drive, and and the school supplies for Eastern Kentucky. The
Okay.
coat drop was for this area.
Okay.
But yeah, so are you interested?
Absolutely. So of course, the courthouse is downtown.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually stay in the downtown area now. I believe there's two Highland Cleaners that are on Bardstown Road.
Yes. Yeah.
There's one that's on Lower Bardstown Road that's about 2 miles from where I live and or whatnot. So that would be one that would be pretty close. And I'd be more than happy to go over there once a week and check in and, donate, do whatever I can.
Yay, thank you so much. I'll get the exact address for you because
Okay.
so are you talking about the one that's near Kroger? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I think that's their
Yeah.
main one too,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, thank you so much. I'll
Oh,
get the exact address to you. But I think yeah, that's good. Take that one. Okay, so to my last question. Okay,
okay.
so once you're elected judge, because I'm speaking it into the
That's
atmosphere,
right.
into existence.
Speak it into existence, manifest
Yes.
it, affirm it, all those great things.
Yes. Okay, I want you to tell our viewers how you plan to make it, which this might be redundant. So, because I think you've already said that. Okay. But anything you want to add to that about making a difference? And what are your plans what's next for you after you're judge? What are you
Mm,
going to do next? And don't forget to tell my viewers how they can get in touch with you.
absolutely, Sora. So like I said before, one of the main things for circuit court is disputes over $5,000, appeals from district court. Um, we handle things with Metro Council, if there's the issue over there with something, as well as any criminal offense that would be a felony, which means it's 1 year or more to serve. I am a strong advocate, and we talk so much about access. Since COVID, what we learned is that we can have access and connection electronically and through Zoom. We've learned that there's a lot of money that's spent with regard to coming down to the courthouse, parking, exposure to COVID and other ailments. There are people that are sick, people that are elderly, people that may or may not have conditions where they have to keep a job. They have to get their kids to school. They have to get babysitters. They're riding buses. Um,
Mhm.
so I do believe in bringing technology into the courtroom. I do believe that if it is an offense that, obviously the person may come back and forth, but if it's just a lot of times we just go into court and all we're doing as attorneys is negotiating. We know that, we're going to come up with a deal or get a pass date.
Mhm.
I'm a strong believer that, yes, defendants need to be present, but I believe that they can do that from Zoom. As long as I can see your face, you can log in for a few minutes. There's no need to lose a job because you continue to miss court and you're actually in front of a judge for 2 to 5 minutes.
Right.
I've sat with moms, I've sat with people that have been in tears because, we'll go, okay, well, we'll come back next week. We'll come back and oftentimes we get so caught up in where we are that we forget that we're dealing with real people.
Right.
I, for one, actually have practiced. I, for one, have actually had trials and hearings. I, for one, have actually had to prepare, right, clients and witnesses and things like that, and have probably been on that side of the bench, right, advocating more so than my counterpart. Yes, she's been on the bench for 15 years, but
Mhm.
she was actually in private practice or representing clients 9 months out of her whole career, right?
Oh,
9 months out of
wow.
her whole career.
And
And
what's that?
so,
It's 9 months.
well, if you're campaigning, you understand that, you downsize your practice because you're always out, you're meeting people, you're in the community. And again, these are things that I would do even if I weren't campaigning. The only difference now is that I have on a campaign shirt and a name tag, right? But I want to bring that real world impact into the courtroom, right? We're not fact patterns, we're not theories, we're people. And every decision that is made is going to impact not just the person standing in front of you, but their entire family, right? So it's a holistic approach. I plan to, give pre-rulings, which is not something that's done. Whereas if I've read the motions or whatnot, I can say based on what you've written, here's my ruling. And if you all are okay with that, you don't have to come to motion hour. If not, and you object, then let me know, and then I will hear your case. I don't need to hear every single case if when you make your motions, you're not going to say anything different to me than what's on a piece of paper, right? And that's for expedite things, right? I will allow for civil practitioners to be on Zoom, right? And
Think
to
of
use
the money that all this will save. I'm
well,
just thinking, I'm just seeing the dollar signs decreasing over here.
absolutely. And it helps people to be able to advocate, because if I can be in 2 or 3 courtrooms at the same time as an attorney, or if I don't have to drive an hour and a half, because oftentimes parties are charged for that drive time, right? They're charged for that. And so, but it will expedite things. And I think that it will take the impact of the workload that we as attorneys have off of our backs, because you're going to have someone on the bench that understands your job, it understands your role. Getting out of the way, letting lawyers lawyer, right? Being able to see, well, they agreed to that for a reason. Do I
Right.
really need to know, things of that nature, and really being able to listen. I do plan on having a team of attorneys in different practice areas that I can call on, that I trust, right? I call it my board, right?
Mhm.
That I can sound things off of, that I can ask, did I get that right? Is there something that was missing that I didn't see? Special advisors
Mhm.
or whatnot. And to have an open door for friends and for family, and different partners that can say, well, Miss Davis, you did this, or Miss Davis, and be able to listen to those critiques, because that's the one thing I want my courtroom to be: a place where people feel comfortable,
Mhm.
where people feel respected, and where everybody feels like they're being heard. And I can do that without harming them or hurting them, right? And hurting the system. And so that's what I want to bring to the bench. I don't want the fear to be there. I don't want people to be nervous. I don't want them,
Mhm.
the judicial system is there to help. It's there to correct. It's there to, if something happens in Frankfurt or DC, right? It's that
Mhm.
third party, right, that fixes it. It's that third party that you appeal to, that says, no, this is right or wrong, and that sets the law for the land. Um, and with that being said, I think next steps, obviously I would like a long career, but I'm not opposed to a federal appointment. That's a lifetime appointment, right?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to going up to the Court of Appeals. I'm not opposed to, going to the Supreme Court, right? 2 years ago, I would have never said that and have anybody take me seriously. But the reality of it is that it can happen. And we do want a Supreme Court that's reflective. And so the sky's the limit. The sky's the
Oh,
limit.
I just love that. What do you now, I know this was not on my question list, but
Right.
what do you think about restorative justice for like young adults? Because
Oh,
there have been studies that show that the brain is not fully developed till
until
25.
25.
Right.
I am a strong advocate for restorative justice. I am a strong advocate for juvenile system. I practice in juvenile court. It's, for me, it's more about remedies. I remember I was talking to
Mhm.
one of my friends I went to high school with, and she made a statement to me that broke my heart. And this was 10 years ago. And she said, he's one of those killer be killed kids.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately, I was shooketh, right? And it hurt me, because, no person should be left behind. No child. This was a child, right? And so I worked with that kid.
Mhm.
And I kid you not, when I looked in this child's eyes, he looked straight through me. It was almost scary. And I continued to work with him. And I said, I'm going to leave if you don't comb your hair. You smell. I'm going to respect you as much as you respect yourself. I'm out of here. You can't leave. Oh, but I can. And I'm out. You know, um, I'm not going to talk to you if you're not having good grades. I'm not going to do, I set boundaries.
Mhm.
And what happened was, this child had no one that disciplined them. They had no one who loved him enough to
Mhm.
know that he could disappoint them, right? And I began to do this with all of my clients, right? And they knew that they could disappoint Miss Tracy. And I would go, I'm so disappointed. You let me down. I believed in you. You let me down. But not to the point
Mhm.
to where it was triggering or hurting, but it
Mhm.
gave them a goal. It gave them a standard. It gave them self-worth. It gave them the sense that I'm better than this, right? I can do this. And I would say, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? You want to be an architect? Let me call architects. You want to be such and such? Let me call these people. And I would connect them with different friends that I had doing different things, right? And we would always say, what is your plan after this? Right? Because I get it, right? You can't be around felons, you can't be around this, you can't do that, depending on the crime. And I say, well, from where you're from, how do you accomplish that without hurting your cousins or making them feel disenfranchised or thinking you're better or now you're square? And these are things that you have to deal with in your community. What is your plan? And so we would talk about those things. We would talk about a plan. We would talk about, how do you get new friends? How do you change that? Do you need to move? Is there someone else for you to stay with? And we would start to change the thought process, and we would start to deal with the trauma. Right? We would start to work with the inner child and what made them feel this way.
Right.
And so, yes, I absolutely believe in restorative justice. I do believe that you have to, there's time for punishment because you did this. And so this is what you have to do. But I do believe that once you've done that, you deserve second, third, and fourth chances, right? Because you're a child. And when you say you don't know why you did it, right? So that's one major thing that I do believe in, that I will continue for the bench whenever I can, to give insight, to give information for policy, right? And to make those changes so that the justice system can start working for the people and not working the way it was created to work. So, yeah.
Amen.
Mhm.
Well, tell us how we can get in touch with you. You forgot that.
Absolutely. So, I'm on Facebook as Tracy Davis Esquire. I'm on Facebook as Tracy Davis. I'm on Instagram. They can go to Tracy Davis for Judge on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. What else am I on? Maybe a couple of other things, but I also have a website. My website is www.votedavisforjudge.com. There is a volunteer sheet that is on there. So if anybody wants to come out and volunteer for anything, they can give me their information. If they want a yard sign, if they want a campaign shirt, if they want, we're 40 some odd days from early voting. Early voting starts on, I think, November the 5th or the 4th. So that's important, right? And so we're going to start knocking on doors. We're going to get out there. We're going to meet the people, right? We're going to get the word out. I tell people, especially in my race, there's a lot of people that say, don't vote for this person, don't vote for that person. But I never want to go into a voting booth to vote against someone. I want to go into a voting booth and feel good to vote for someone. I want to put the
Right.
person in that seat. I don't want to be a consolation prize. I want to be
Exactly.
the choice. And for that seat, I am
You're
that
my choice,
choice.
Tracy.
Absolutely. So if
Yeah,
people see me out, feel free to walk up to me. I don't bite. You can stop me and talk to me. You can ask me any questions. I do respond if people call me, if they inbox me or whatever the case may be. So yeah, so that's the way to get in touch.
I love it. Well, I'm gonna have to say ta-ta to you, Tracy.
All right.
But it was so nice having you this morning, and I will, your this broadcast is going to, be publicized on September the 22nd is when this episode is gonna air.
I'm excited.
So I wanna let you know that, and then you have your banner. Did you like your banner? I'm
Yes,
gonna
it's
probably
beautiful.
edit all this out. Okay.
It's fine. Edit away. Anything you want to edit, it's fine.
Okay. I probably will keep most of it because it was so good. I mean, it was
Thank
just girl,
you.
yes. Okay. I'm gonna talk to you later.
All
Love
right.
you. Bye.
Bye. Enjoy your day.
For you too. Wasn't that wonderful, guys? Again, I'd like to thank Tracy for coming and talking with us today. I learned so much about her and the courtroom and the law, and it was just a wonderful interview. So yay, Tracy is the bomb. Okay, so I want to thank all of you for joining me today for Just Gin Live, living my 360-degree life, where we uplift chai, community, family, health and wellness over 50, author life, entrepreneurship, and identity. I'd also like to thank Tracy again. And guys, please be sure that you hit the like button, and then share and subscribe to my YouTube page. Please join me join my Facebook author group page. It's at Just Gin. And then my podcast page is for Facebook is at Just Gin Live. Twitter, Instagram is also at Just Gin Live. Until next time, here's hoping that you are enjoying chai each and every day, whether you're active in the community, working a business, or just living your best life, honey. See you next time. Bye.